All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA DFS video. Going to be breaking down this interesting 5-game slate that we have on Saturday, where we're not necessarily getting a lot of great pay-ups or a lot of great values. So it's going to be a tighter slate in general, but I do think we are getting some leverage opportunities in regards to some of the players' prices. So let's go ahead and break it down. And so let's go ahead and start off with just like a preview of the slate in general, guys. So we look at it when we sort it by the players that are the best values. We're not getting a single player that's above 6x here. So that's what's making the slate interesting in general. Then we look at the top projected plays. We are seeing Cade Cunningham, Tyrese Maxey, Jalen Johnson, Giannis, and SGA. So we are getting some pay-up opportunities, but we do see a big jump after Kawhi Leonard down to Ryan Rollins at 8K. So that's also what makes it an interesting slate in general, is that if you are targeting maybe more of the values, there's a limited amount of players that we can pay up for. So maybe the fair and balanced lineup approach is going to end up being the correct approach. Now, when we take a peek at the first game, we got Philly versus Atlanta. Jonathan Kuminga is listed as questionable. If he were to sit, I do think that makes Jalen Johnson more appealing to me, guys. Decent game total here, 233.5 game total, about a 7-point spread in favor of Atlanta winning. Philly is going to be without VJ Edgecombe, Joel Embiid, Paul George, and then Johnny Broome. So if Adam Bona does end up starting, I think he's going to be someone we can be looking at as a great play. Max is going to be a little bit hit or miss, and Quentin Grimes, the data really likes, but he's someone that always seems to be mispriced and the data likes as a decent play overall. So we'll sort the tool here by Philly just in general, guys. And so again, just kind of looking at it from a raw points perspective, Maxey, Kelly Oubre are popping up in there, and then Quentin Grimes. Grimes is probably a little bit too mispriced. He's not someone that I particularly love, though. We take a peek at his game log, 31 minutes, guys, in the last game. He did have a good game there, scoring 25 DFS points, which I'm overall fine with. I just don't think we necessarily need to get to that. He is projected to get 26.6 here tonight, so I think that could end up being a fine projection. The player that I like is Adam Bona here, a decent amount. Projected for 17 minutes. I think there's a good chance he ends up getting more than that, though. If you look at some of the Vegas lines that are out there, they're projecting him to have a pretty sizable game. 29 minutes in the last game there as well. And with Embiid and Broome still out, he should get some run. We look at the last game, guys, 24.5 minutes. He's a player that I'm actively going out of my way to target, and he's one of the first players I want in my builds. And then just for Atlanta, there's not much that I necessarily love, although I think a lot of the plays are just solid plays overall. Like Jalen Johnson's a solid play. Daniels, I'm fine riding the hot hand with him. Kuminga, if he's active, I don't hate him. But let's go ahead and jump into the next game. There's a little bit more to break down there. So we got Brooklyn versus Detroit, guys, and we have Cade Cunningham currently listed as questionable. If he were to sit, obviously that creates a lot of value elsewhere. Like Jenkins would be more interesting, even Cade Cunningham and Tobias Harris would be an easy click. And then we also have Jalen Duren, who's currently listed as probable, so obviously we're expecting him to play. This game is a 14-point spread as well, so maybe Cade does end up sitting. You know, whenever there's a massive blowout risk like that, that means to me that players are just more likely to sit. We do tend to see that. Low game total as well, so not necessarily a lot to get to here. And when we look at it from a value standpoint as well, nothing too crazy here. Traore is like really the only one I could potentially get to, because he's a little hit or miss, but the minutes just haven't been there, guys, for him, especially again if they're going to get blown out. We don't really expect the minutes to be there for him again, and he hasn't necessarily shown a big ceiling recently, so he's fine, but like I don't think we need to get to him. But on a 5-game slate where we are limited, I did want to call that out. And then we take a peek at Detroit, guys. Again, if Cade sits, yeah, some other players are going to be more appealing. Jalen Duren becomes more appealing, Tobias Harris becomes more appealing, and then we could be looking at, again, like someone like Jenkins I think would be fine with. There would be some other options there, but for now, let's just not get to them. Then we jump on into the next game, which is going to be the Clippers versus Memphis. Obviously, Memphis is still pretty banged up here, guys. Close game total, and kind of a higher scoring game as well for the Clippers. I still like Brook Lopez here tonight, guys. Brook Lopez with both of the centers out, as well as John Collins. Obviously, we like that. Darius Garland also potentially going to sit in this game. We'll see. It's front end of back-to-back on Friday. I kind of expect him to play today, so maybe someone more in play. But I do like Brook Lopez. Sanders is fine, but I like into Kawhi. I like into Kawhi and Brook here in this game because it should be a good game. They're going against Memphis. And then for Memphis, I like Prosper. I don't mind him. Ty Jerome is someone that, gain about 22 minutes. He can be productive in limited minutes. So again, when we kind of sort it by Memphis in the top plays there, I don't I don't mind Ty Jerome. I think that's fine. Walter Clayton's a little bit hit or miss depending on how many minutes he ends up getting. What's he projected for right now? 22. How many has he gotten recently? 24. Yeah, if he were to get more minutes, like we'd start to be more inclined to play him. But with him getting limited minutes for now, I think we just stay away from him. We take a peek at the other side of this game though. And to me, again, I think Brook Lopez is much more appealing than the price tag is really indicating here, guys. Projected for 27 minutes, maybe gets more, maybe gets less. But even if he does get less, I think there's a good chance he goes off. He ended up having a good game in his game last night in a similar situation where they just didn't have that many active bodies there. Now, with it being a back end of a back-to-back, maybe Isaiah Jackson gets a little bit more run than we're expecting, and he's someone that can be productive in limited minutes. So maybe ends up getting 20 tonight with Brook Lopez being limited minutes wise. I could see that happen. I don't think it's necessarily something we need to chase, but it's within the realm of possibilities. Now let's go and take a peek at Milwaukee, guys. Milwaukee gets a game against Utah, which to me is a very appealing game. Kevin Porter Jr. is still going to be out here tonight. So someone like Ryan Rollins, who went off in the last game with Kevin Porter Jr. off the court, I kind of expect him to do that again. He should have that expanded role. Went off for over or nearly 50 fantasy points. He is someone that has been a little bit more streaky. I'm kind of fine chasing that upside in this matchup against Utah. That is a pretty good matchup. DVP rank 4, which is obviously really good, and then 10-point spread in favor of the Bucks. So he should be part of the reason as to why this game ends up being potentially a blowout. And then we see, guys, 234 game total. So I like that there as well. Overall, I think he's correctly priced, but he's also a player at a price tag that I do want to be targeting. Cam Thomas is someone that is kind of low price for someone that could easily have a decent game here. He's someone that should get hot, and if he does get hot, he could really go off. I don't mind chasing him in this game. That could end up being a blowout, and I think there's a decent chance he ends up being part of the reason as to why. Dieng is someone that's popping up as well. He's a little bit too cheap to me as well. Like, I'm perfectly fine with him. He is currently projected to be the best value. Now, with Giannis being on the court, yes, that does take up a lot of usage away from him, but overall, I like the idea of getting to Rollins. I like the idea of getting to Dieng, and then if you want to get to Giannis there as well, I think that becomes a viable option. Now for Utah, guys, they are also going to be pretty banged up. So for this game specifically in regards to players that are still active, Markkanen's out and Collier's out. So to me, that leads me to believe that Keontae George is going to be someone we really want to be going out of our way to target, even kind of regardless of price tag, just because it's a high-scoring game. And he arguably draws a good matchup as well. And so we see he's projected to get about 5x here, and I think that ends up being mostly correct. About 38 fantasy points. There's a good chance that he ends up going for more than that if this game does stay close enough for long enough. And overall, I just think he's a little bit too cheap. So I like the idea of getting to him as well. And then Blake Hinson's okay if you're looking for a value play, guys, especially if the game ends up being a blowout. Kyle Filipkowski, I'm always interested in getting to him because he's someone that can really go off and break a slate. And then we take a peek at the last game on the slate, guys. A lot of players that could or could not be active in this game, so we'll have to wait and see. So Melton, currently this is questionable. He's kind of the big difference maker because if he sits, that does shift a lot of usage. Like pods becomes much more appealing to me. And then we take a peek at OKC, guys. So they're still without AJ Mitchell and Jalen Williams. And then Isaiah Hartenstein being out. So kind of interesting there, especially with Alex Caruso out. So like players like Dort become a little bit more intriguing on tonight's slate. And so that's why we're seeing him be a decent value here tonight. And I'm fine with that. I think he ends up being a fine value. Jalen Williams, kind of a shoulder shrug play for me. If I end up on him, I'm fine to close up my builds with him. And then taking a peek at Golden State, guys. So Golden State, if the game were to stay close enough for long enough, I would like them, but the game is projected to be a blowout, and so that is concerning to me. Again, the only player I could see myself trying to get to is Pods, but he's starting to get priced up enough here as well where he's not like a lock and load value, and we kind of need the game to stay close, and he's only projected for 28 minutes, and so that becomes a little bit thin for me on tonight's slate as well. So I think the teams and plays that we're looking at are going to be much more condensed. And so let's try to give you guys a first look build. I already have George and Bona in there. Not perfect, but that it is what it is in regards to what we can be looking at. And so I do think we kind of have to get to Dieng right now as well. So we'll put him into the first look build there, guys. And then Grimes is someone that is popping up as a good value right now. We probably would be needing to look at him. But again, I kind of like the idea of getting to like Kawhi and Brook Lopez. So we're going to put them in for now. Again, I do think there's a chance that Brook Lopez ends up having his minutes be a little bit more limited than we would like. That is certainly within the realm of possibilities. But let's see, we have about 6.5 left over on average. So not terrible there. Who else can we get to? Daniels is fine there. Again, I like Rollins. We'll put Rollins in there. So we have power forward left over 5.7, and we have forward left over. So let's just sort it by forward here and see what we're looking at. So about 5.7 left over. I don't mind the idea of getting to Kelly Oubre, kind of hoping for more of a ceiling game. I think that ends up being fine. And we have to get to a power forward priced at 5.6 or so. I don't necessarily like the options that we have here at all, really, with their pricing. And so maybe I go to a Filipkowski here. And then maybe we'd have to adjust it slightly there. Maybe we'd get off of Kawhi there. But that's kind of the lineup path that I'm getting to as it currently sits right now. So, again, lots of George, lots of Leonard. Bona I really like. Rollins, pretty solid play overall. And then Brook Lopez. So that's what I'm looking at here. We'll show you guys what the 9-to-5 lineup builder is telling us are the top builds tonight. So for now, it's looking at Grimes, Dort. Again, Dort's a fine value. It is getting to Giannis, Dieng, Jalen Williams, Isaiah Joe, which I'm fine with, and Dyson Daniels. So it's kind of more condensed in regards to who you can be on, but the options of where you can go are pretty wide open because there isn't any clear plays that the data is going to like naturally as it currently sits right now. Obviously, that can change throughout the day. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Appreciate you being here. Make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. I'll catch you on the next one.